If you show the Black Terror one, this is one where I gave it a little bit more thought to push it slightly. I was treating the costume in analyzing the original character, which, you know, didn't need a lot of refurbishment. I mean, it's a good slick, you're starting with black, so black is popular, that's not going to do badly for you. I did certain things to increase angles, but moreover I was trying to almost embrace the pirate-like quality of a character who's wearing a Jolly Roger on his chest, and unlike, say, the Punisher, which is the modern design interpretation of this character, I'm really pulling it back, especially with a big cape, adding the idea of the Buccaneer-style boots as an aesthetic of being, he is the pirate Superman, increasing the cape's breadth in a way to feel a little bit more opera-like, a little bit more Phantom of the Opera, and then also the mask, as it is a standard, simple little domino mask covering the eyes, obscuring an identity, if he even has a secret identity. In our book currently, he doesn't really have one. He's been missing for 60 years. The design of the sides of, this is a current design thing that we've seen in the last 40 years of comics, where you take a mask and you pull it up the sides, and you let the hair poke out the top, because if you have a wonderful mane of hair like John here, it'll look great. But then you have that wrap around to just cover the eyes alone. And in this design, it's the sharp points are kind of creating the impression of like that he's sort of like Venom. The costume is almost grabbing around him like teeth around his head. So it's very aggressive.
Thank you. Planetary. It's in some ways it's a different kind of take on creating characters that are based on other characters, because you're basically centering around a group of super detectives.
Right. Well, there's a couple different things I can say about Planetary. You've got the core team, which consists of three people: Chiquita, Snow, and the drummer. You know, these are people who do have powers, but they for the most part play them very, in subtle ways, and they're investigators more than anything. And to an extent, even though they look very dramatic here, they want to be able to blend in a little bit. Even though Chiquita's wearing this incredible, tight, sexy bodysuit, when she's walking out in public, she's wearing some kind of overcoat. And it's not until the action occurs where she needs to, use her blinding speed or strength that the coat is gone and poof, she's out of there. Snow's wearing a suit, just a pure white suit that comes from Warren Ellis, the writer. He wanted them to have, somewhat real world sensibilities to their look. The drummer's wearing, just generic clothing, but always.
The drummer's you.
Well, yeah.
I've read the comic. The drummer's you.
Okay, I'll go into this very quickly. I gave Warren drawings of each character, and the only one he had kind of a problem with was the drummer, because I had him being bald and big bulgy eyes and tattoos everywhere, looking, incredibly whacked out. He doesn't have tattoos. But, and Warren mentioned a few things that he'd like me to do, so I took the sketch that I had and I started, just drawing right over it, and it started looking a little bit like me. So I thought, well, I won't have to, rely on my, big bodybuilder friends to put on costumes. I can just look in the mirror and draw it, and there it is.
Hey, if I look like you, it's a handsome man. But he wears very similar clothing from issue to issue, but always different, strange, wild, bizarre colors, because he's just kind of a bad dresser. But what they're investigating is where I get to have a lot of fun. From issue to issue, we tackle different genres. Most of the time, it's superhero geared. A lot of times, this kind of has our pulp versions of our version of Frankenstein, Sherlock Holmes, that's Snow, and then Dracula as well. We have in other issues we have different variations on all whether it's the DC or Marvel or pulp heroes. I get to dive in and retool them to my sensibilities.
Up to the left.
Excellent.
It's kind of my my version of the Captain Marvel. We plugged in a lot of kind of Aztec technology and things into and making it this sort of different thing, but a really fun homage to Captain Marvel. And also at the bottom we have the Lone Ranger, which off of the Planetary scale for a moment here. It started with Planetary in a sense. I love the Lone Ranger character. That's my version of him in Planetary. Which led to, in a roundabout sense, working with the same guy who does superpowers, doing the Lone Ranger book. And oddly enough, in the Lone Ranger, the way he starts off in the center there, he's got a red shirt. The Lone Ranger's gone through so many different looks, as many, if not more, than the X-Men or any other comic character. I think tons.
Really?
It wasn't until Clayton Moore played him in the 50s that he was all blue. Before that, he went through so many variations.
Oh, so it wasn't just consistently red up until the
No,
TV
in fact,
series?
it wasn't the red shirt until, I'd say, he was 10 years old. The character had been around for 10 years before he even looked like that. He just looked like William S. Hart with a mask at first. He just looked like a very average, cowboy riding around with a mask. And so we tried to instill that in the Lone Ranger series that we've done, that I do covers and art direct for. From the beginning, he just looks like a very normal guy wearing a mask, and then suddenly he's got a red shirt on. He's then kind of just becoming more of a real-world character, and he will be appearing in kind of a powder blue Clayton Moore type.
Oh, he will?
He will, for one issue, and it's very clever the way the writer Brett Matthews has done it. It's a very neat little tribute to, because when you deal with a character like that, you have so many people that appreciate what you're doing with it and trying to stay true, but there's going to be that section that wants to see Clayton Moore. They want to see that guy.
Or Adam West.
From the 1950s. Exactly. That's just right. That's exactly it.
So the next character is a character that both John and Alex have worked on, which is Captain America. And John had the enviable task of taking on Captain America right after 9/11. And we'll have some comments on what that was like. And then Alex just recently participated in redesigning the Captain America outfit for a storyline that takes place after the death of the Steve Rogers Captain America. But John, what I did was I put up the first Captain America appearance. I picked up another issue that shows sort of where his costume evolved as we went into like the 60s and 70s, and then you can see John's version on the far side.
For the most part, Captain America's really remained so remarkably similar to how he was in the first place. For only the first issue, he had a different face mask, which didn't cover his neck, and he has a different shield. The one other minor note is that you can't see it here, but on the stripes on his stomach and on his sides, and the back is just one big star. And that remained through the 40s, but when he comes back, he really, how you've got him in the middle, that's Captain America. And anything I've done is just I'm just refining what's already there from what Kirby did.